This dish was made using locally sourced seasonal ingredients. It's one of our top-selling lines. All the vegetables were grown here by the same organisation, picked fresh and delivered from the farm to the fork, ensuring the very best quality. It was served here, at this restaurant, which has been #1 on TripAdvisor out of 19,000 London restaurants. It's staffed by 15 chefs and 15 waiters. The decor is of a high standard, with state-of-the-art lighting creating the ultimate ambiance. The menu is seasonal, it's changed 5 times a year, and everything is made from scratch. So if we had something like crab ravioli, the crabs will come in whole and we'll make the pasta. We also bake sourdough bread fresh every day, as well as soups, stocks, and sauces. The Clink restaurant, located at Her Majesty's Prison in Brixton. What I didn't tell you was all the chefs and waiters are serving prisoners who are training to gain their National Vocational Qualification, NVQ, and also we train the prisoners in our gardens as well to get a horticultural NVQ. All the salad and vegetables and eggs produced are served in our restaurants daily. All the chairs, leather upholstery, are made by serving prisoners. The poetry on the walls and the artwork are also made by prisoners. This piece of art is made out of thousands of pencil sharpenings stuck onto a canvas. We replicate a real-life working environment. If it doesn't feel like prison, they don't behave as if they're in prison. It's really important that the prisoners feel comfortable in this environment, to learn to respect it. The kitchen is full of high-tech equipment, and again, they need to learn how to operate it, take care of it, and clean it. Joe made this dish. He was a serving prisoner who trained with us for 18 months to gain his Level 2 NVQ in professional cookery. He was released last year, and he's now working in a top London restaurant and has got his life back on track. Today's challenge is there are 84,000 adults in prison in England and Wales, 80,000 men and 4,000 women. There's a picture here of Wembley Stadium, which has a capacity of 90,000, so the prison population can almost fill it. Sadly, of those released, 44% of them return to prison within the first year. The Clink reduces reoffending, as well as supporting the hospitality industry that has a major skills shortage. Since launching in Highdown in 2009, we now have 11 operations. So how did it all begin? Al Chrissy, pictured here, the then catering manager of Highdown Prison, had a team of 6 chefs and 38 prisoners, and they were producing 3,000 hot meals a day. Sadly, 60% of them were returning to prison. So he wanted to break that cycle of crime. So he introduced City and Guilds training, trained his staff to be trainers and assessors, and worked with the prisoners to help them gain their qualifications, sometimes the first in their life. The prisoner did very well, but sadly, it didn't make any difference to the amount of them returning. They returned in the same number. So Al introduced gourmet lunches as the next step. He would take the prisoners that were nearing release, train them up over and above the required standard. He'd then set up a dining room table in his stockroom, invite in prospective employers, serve the lunch, and at the end of the meal, the employers would meet the prisoners, offer them jobs, and less returned. So in 2009, when the prison was going through an expansion, they were building a new education centre, a house block, and a staff mess, Al asked the governor if they could put the building of the staff mess to the end of the programme, and if he could go out and raise some money and create it into a fine dining training restaurant. Al was introduced to some philanthropists, and he went out and they raised £300,000, and the very first Clink was created. We've developed a 5-step program that looks after the prisoner in their last 18 months in prison, but more importantly, the first 12 months on the outside. There's lots of great things going on in prison, run by the prison service and charities, and equally good things going on outside. But there are very few agencies that link the two together. And when you have gaps, that's when people reoffend. We work in partnership with the prison service to focus on supporting those prisoners through the transition of the inside to the out. The first step is recruitment. We advertise in a prison newspaper called Inside Times, and also advertise on prison radio, and they have internal job shops. We're looking for prisoners who have 6 to 18 months left to serve, who are volunteering to be trained. The prison screen them to make sure they're safe to work with the public and have completed all other restorative courses. They have to be able to read and write. Half of the prison population sadly has a reading age of 11 years old. So if they're unable to read and write, they can go away and learn and then come back and join us later. We interview them to make sure that they're keen and willing, even if they're on a methadone script. With the help of the healthcare department, we will take them and they can come off. We see prison as a time to change attitudes, transform lives, and create second chances. And not to go out with the same issues that they came in with. There are 121 prisons in England and Wales, and we can recruit from all of them. And then we put them on hold so they complete their training with us and are released from the prison. The second step is training. We're a registered catering college. We deliver City and Guilds NVQ qualifications in professional cookery, food and beverage service, and food hygiene. But just as importantly are the soft skills, gaining confidence, motivation, and pride, and learning to work as part of a team. Confidence can be a big thing, and one of our little tests is to give them a birthday cake and say, go and sing at that table over there. And there's normally quite a resistance, and we have to have a conversation along the lines of, well, you're hard enough to rob a bank, surely you're hard enough to sing at the table. But once they've done it, and they've had that recognition and the praise from the customer, we're then having to put together a rota of whose turn it is to go next, because it really motivates them. The Clink represents a 40-hour working week, replicating a normal environment on the outside. If they were working or training elsewhere in the prison, they'd work 2 hours in the morning, then be locked up in their cell by themselves for lunch for 2 hours, and then work for 2 hours in the afternoon. So a 20-hour working week with a 10-hour siesta, sadly, is preparing you for life on the outside. Quite often, when the prisoners come to us, their identity is their past, their crime, how many times in prison, how much longer they've got to serve. But they grow over several weeks with us, and their identity then changes for their hope for the future, how many units they've completed for their NVQ, or who they've served, or they can now fillet a fish. And it's just great to watch them grow. The other group of people that we're training are members of the public. Last year, we served 100,000 members of the public who came to support our training. And I would like to think that we're challenging and changing their perception and helping them understand the prison population is just a cross-section of society like you or me. Our only barometer of the public is TripAdvisor. And last July, all 4 restaurants were #1 on TripAdvisor in their respective areas. Now, I don't believe for 1 minute this means we're serving the best food with the best service. But I think it does confirm that the public are supporting and helping us change these men and women's lives and helping them get their lives back on track. The third step is support. We're not like a normal catering college where everybody starts on the 1st of September for a term. They come and go throughout the year. They all have individual learning plans. They all have individual learning needs. We employ caterers to come and work in this environment, and we train them to be trainers and assessors, and also the prison train them how to work in that environment as well. And we support the prisoners on a one-to-one basis. Even if some of them are struggling with their reading, the other prisoners will come alongside them and support them. The fourth step is employment. We now have over 280 employers who will all employ a Clink graduate subject to a satisfactory interview. They're working in hotels such as the Royal Lancaster Hotel, the Park Plaza Group, Holiday Inn. They're working for contract caterers such as CH&Co, Baxter Story and Compass, and high street restaurant chains such as Benugo's. We have chef ambassadors who will come in their own time, quietly, and work alongside the prisoners, giving them the very best training, and also hopefully talent spotting and maybe offering them jobs upon release. These chefs include Albert Roux, Cyrus Todiwala, Giorgio Locatelli, and Lisa Allen. Finally, the fifth step is mentoring. I believe this is the key to our success. We employ full-time support workers who come alongside the prisoners 12 weeks before release. They help them write their CV, a disclosure letter explaining about their crime, their sentence, how they feel they want to put it behind them, and their hope for the future. We make sure they have accommodation and somewhere to live. And then on the day of release, we'll meet them at the gate, take them to their accommodation, their job or probation, and we're there 24/7 to help them readjust back into society. With a criminal record, it's very hard to get a loan or a mortgage or even a bank account. Simple things like your car and house insurance may even triple, so they need people alongside them to help them slowly adjust back into society. Sadly, if this isn't in place, you don't have friends, you don't have family or a job or accommodation, and a release payment from prison of £40. The idea of a bed, 3 meals a day, and a television in prison, sadly, appears to be quite an attractive one. I mentioned at the beginning, 44% of adults reoffend within the first year of release. By delivering an integrated training program in partnership with the prison service, we've managed to dramatically reduce this figure. The Justice Data Lab and Ministry of Justice have analysed our results and found that prisoners who took part in the Clink training program were 49.6% less likely to reoffend. They took our cohort of prisoners and modelled them through their sentence over an 18-month period and post-release. And they then found a control group of identical prisoners through crime, race, gender, sentence. And in their words, a reduction of 49.6% is a statistically significant result. We're now going to hear from Lloyd.
The Clink are an organisation which helps people cut down their rates of reoffending, giving them the confidence and the skills and ability to get into a workforce in the catering industry. And I think it's a beautiful, wonderful idea, and it helps train the inmates to turn their lives around. Because I had problems with drugs and things like that, alcohol. In the past, I was going in and out of jail and I wasn't asking nobody for help, I was stubborn. On this occasion, when I was released from Brixton, I had nowhere to stay. They said that they would be able to help me. And to my amazement, they had everything put in place so that when I was released, I went to a bed and breakfast in Shepherd's Bush, which Clink managed to fund for me. I've learnt about catering and hospitality. I've got 2 different certificates there, sitting gigs, and I got them while I was in Brixton. Initially I was nervous and I was saying, oh, he's going to judge me, you know what I mean? They don't want to talk to me, this and that. But Clink helped me get out of my shell, talk to people, smile, you know what I mean? And it's been really nice working at all these prestigious events. I think they're a very good organisation because I didn't think that nobody wanted to take an interest in me because I had the stigma where I had a criminal record, and the Clinks helped me to believe in myself again. It's helped me to just push myself forward, it's given me belief in myself that I can do whatever I want to do. And if catering is something what I want to do, they will help me get in there,
We're now training up to 200 prisoners every day across our sites. Since 2009, we've trained over 1,800 men and women. Our next step is to look at how we can stop people going to prison in the first place. Clink Events, where we make food on the inside and serve it on the outside, partners up with the Centrepoint charity training some of the homeless clients to be waiters. We put on cocktail parties for up to 1,000 people, sit-down dinners for 500, and we're one of the caterers at the Guildhall, giving the students the very best experience. When they've completed their training with us, we then get them into accommodation and also employment. The Clink Cafe that opened in Manchester this week is doing exactly the same. We're taking young homeless clients from Manchester, as well as prisoners from 3 local prisons out on day release, helping them gain their NVQ qualifications and getting them into employment. Both these projects will hopefully get people back on track and not go down the wrong route, which could potentially lead to going to prison. Our aim is by 2020, we'll be releasing 1,500 men and women out into the hotel and catering industry in the UK, not only changing their lives, but also their family and friends, as well as making society a safer place and ultimately saving the taxpayer money. I hope that the Clink clearly demonstrates what can be achieved when society engages to help those who want, deserve a second chance. An identity in the past is an opportunity for the future. Thank you.